Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. This is the 38th video of my video journal series. Today's date is Wednesday, the 18th of March 2026. Something I wanted to talk about with you today is small imperfections. And by that I mean, have you ever had a piece of clothing, an object, it could be anything. Usually it happens with clothes, but it could be like a video game console, it could be a toothbrush, it could be, a book even, or a CD jewel case, and it just has that small little imperfection, that small little crack, or that small little bit that's missing. It reminds me of that episode of Seinfeld, if you ever seen it, where Elaine gets this cashmere cardigan, and it has like a little red dot. I'm pretty sure that's what the episode's called. It's got that little red dot, that small little imperfection. And they try to not point it out to Elaine, the main characters of the show. They try to I guess distract from the fact that it's got a little red dot, and that's why it was on discount. Great episode, by the way. You should definitely watch it. But I remember I'm pretty sure it was George on that show. He was just obsessing over that little red dot, and that was the whole premise of the episode, was trying to I guess highlight, as soon as you're asphyxiated on just a small little imperfection, it just bothers you. The table that I have in my room is quite new, and I noticed that in the top left corner, there's a small little, dent, and that just kind of triggers my OCD, triggers my perfectionism. Obviously, where that dent is like a mat, so it's not even noticeable. But, if you were to take away that mat on my desk, it just bothers me. Seeing that little dent. And I'm like, how did that little dent get there? I didn't even do anything. I didn't put any screwdrivers or any, freaking saws on there last time. I didn't smash something on that specific part of the table and it got a little dent like that. Sometimes it happens during shipping or manufacturing. No, I can understand, But it triggers my OCD so much when I see a small little crack or small little chip or a little bit of the paint's faded away. I know things with wear and tear, over time things slowly wear, and that's fine. But if it's something that's brand new, or you just bought it and you want to keep it in very good condition, but there's that small little defect, it triggers your OCD. At least for me, it does. It triggers my OCD. I remember buying, CDs, and you see a little crack on the side, and you're like, I just bought this, all right? That's literally the first episode of my video journal series, is when I bought a Blu-ray, Jackass Forever on Blu-ray, and it had a dent, it had a crack in the case, and pieces of plastic were just rattling around. That's what bothers me, That's a small little dent. I can understand if something's old, yet again, and it has the small little imperfections, and that kind of makes it better in some instances, for example, a very old table that has that small little human imperfections. You can tell that this thing was handcrafted and it feels authentic, and it's old and it kind of adds to the vibe atmosphere. And I'm like, what, that's pretty good. But when you buy a brand new table from IKEA, it shouldn't have any dents on it. It should be perfect. If you're buying a monitor, it should be perfect. Except that recently, the monitor that I got was only around a year old. It just had that small little I'm not sure if it was dead pixels or not. It was just a little blur on the screen, a little grey blur. I thought it was dead pixels. I thought it was smudge. I tried rubbing it off. I tried, running all these programs to get rid of that, what I assumed was a dead pixel. But no, it was just that small little, I guess, not even a dent. It was something to maybe do with the, backlight of the computer monitor, Maybe one of the lights were malfunctioning. But it was just annoying me, because whenever you have an all-white background, you just see that small little grey dot, And it just annoyed me, so I just ended up buying a new monitor. I'm just keeping that one as a replacement. The old one as a replacement, sorry. So yeah, when you see that small little defect, and it just annoys you, Especially with jeans. I mean, these are pretty old jeans. These are old Hugo Boss jeans. These jeans are good quality. Sure, they're faded, but I don't mind it because I know these are old, and I like to rock out old things even if they are faded. But imagine these were like brand new, for instance. I'll be livid if I just saw the bottom of these jeans that have like a little wear and tear on them. That's what annoys me. It's like, why can't we make good quality products anymore? It just seems like most stuff, being sold nowadays is just being cheap, mass manufactured. It's just, you know, made, to be replaced within a few years. I just like something where it's like durable. It doesn't develop any cracks or holes or whatever, and it just lasts. For example, this couch. This couch, would you believe me if I said this couch is at the very least 10 to 12 years old? I remember this couch, before we had this couch, we had like a white couch, I believe. We had a white couch. And that one lasted a pretty long time, but I'm pretty sure it was around 12 years ago. Well over a decade ago, we got this couch. Maybe it's a little bit older, I don't know. I just remember we got this. And ever since then, it's literally been like pretty much brand new condition. I mean, sure, there's a little bit of like fading here and there, but it's a nice. I'm pretty sure this is vinyl couch, and it still works like new. Um, like old pairs of jeans that I got from my dad. Those are still like pretty good. Um, just old stuff. I guess was meant to last, and stuff made before planned obsolescence. Uh, very good quality. I mean, nowadays manufacturers and all that, they just tend to, I guess, say these pairs of shoes are only going to last you like a year, and then you're going to get like another one. I know there's some products out there which are like better quality. They don't develop cracks or mini defects over time. But those tend to be a little bit more expensive, and I wouldn't mind paying more money if it doesn't mean I have to like replace these every year or so. But it's also kind of annoying when you buy something that's super expensive and then it has that small little defect. But you're like, I spent all this money. It shouldn't have a small defect. I mean, yeah. Especially if it's being made out of a factory. If something's handcrafted, I can understand the small defects. Adds to the character. But if something's like being mass manufactured by a machine, those small defects really get to me. Small little defects. Um, and I guess it's just a matter of my OCD. My I guess a little bit of perfectionism in there. But I guess sometimes you're not gonna replace a whole entire wardrobe if it's got that little I guess skid like just that little scrape or one of the wood pieces has been chipped. Obviously, you're not, but and especially with floorboards as well, you're not going to replace a floorboard if it has like a scratch in it. But at the same time, you know, you kind of want, you know, I guess if you paid a lot of money for something, you don't want any defects. You want everything to be perfect. Same with this phone. The phone I'm using to record this, has like scratches on the screen and all that. I mean, I don't really take good care of it, but you know, it just I guess that's the little defects that you notice, and once you notice it, you can't get your eyes off it, and it keeps on bothering you until you replace it. You know, and I guess to end this video off, because I'm trying to keep these videos on weekdays pretty short, but weekends I'll do I guess more extended, long form videos, at least 20 minutes or so. I'm trying to keep these under 10 minutes on weekdays. Weekends, around 20 minutes. But yeah, I guess to end, sometimes small little defects or small little human made errors, I kind of guess add to the you know add to the character of something. If you're wearing like a hand knitted sweater and there's like, some small little defects or whatever, that's fine. If you're wearing like shoes over time, well, obviously they're gonna get dirty, they're gonna get, worn and torn. What annoys me about the shoes, what annoys me about shoes the most is when you're wearing shoes and then, you see like the leather start tearing in the insoles of the shoes, like inside the shoes, you see like the left, like the fabric on the side of the shoes, inside of the shoes, so inside, around the perimeter, sort of like the fabric starts tearing, and you wouldn't notice it on the outside, but on the inside, if you're like a shoe fanatic, you'll just be so insanely like bothered by that, and I get a little bit bothered as well. Whenever shoes, like even the soles on the outside, they start wearing and they start peeling off, and it just annoys you. You're like, why can't this be a normal day and nothing breaks? It's like driving a car and just having that one little small defect. It just bothers you. Like, sure, it won't affect me driving this, but I want to take good care of this car. I don't want this defect to grow bigger and bigger. you know and then back in the old days, you had to like manually unwind the antenna of your car. I remember that. We used to own an old Mercedes, and we had to like unwind the antenna whenever we went into the car wash. And I believe one time we forgot to do that, and then the antenna just got like chopped off. And I've seen plenty of other people like succumb to that fate in like car washes. When they forget to turn down the antenna. Obviously, cars nowadays they don't have antennas, but the old ones they do. Uh, Remember the problems that don't exist anymore. Cars with antennas. When you go into car wash, the automated car wash. Never forget that. But anyway, so I guess that's how I'm gonna end. You know what? Maybe that should be its own video entry. Times where you realize you screwed up, but it wasn't your fault. It was, I guess, the parents' fault when they decide to go for car washes but not unwind down the antenna. I guess stuff like problems that don't really exist anymore, but you remember in the past, and you're like, oh, remember when we had to like rewind VHS and cassette tapes? Lower down the car antenna. I'm not gonna let that go. I'm not gonna let that car antenna go. But or you had to I guess like Y2K proof your computer or something like that. Whatever people were doing in the ancient times. Problems that I guess don't exist anymore but exist as fun memories. But anyway, I guess I'll catch you later, and you have a great one. Bye. Take care.